Hello, and welcome to the Agent Hero podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Shaughnessy. As a multi-award-winning 20-year industry leader in real estate, my goal is to share with you how I learned to make a six-figure income working just 20 hours a week, focusing only on the high-impact activities that net real results. I want to share with you the secrets I've learned over the past 20 years that have led me to the dream life I have now. This podcast will help you master the art of efficiency, find balance in the hustle, and equip you with impactful tips from myself and other industry experts to help you rise to the top of the industry while putting your happiness and freedom at the forefront of your life. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to the Agent Hero podcast. As the intro said, I am your host, Melissa Shaughnessy, and this is our first episode ever. So I am so thankful you're here. I'm so glad you tuned in. And let me tell you, I had no idea what all went into a podcast. So all you podcasters out there, oh my God, I commend you because this is no joke. This is no joke. So anyway, we are going to get into all of the nuts and bolts and actionable strategies beginning next episode. We're going to kick the first one off with the 3 biggest mistakes that new realtors make and how and why you should avoid them. But before we get into it, I wanted to give a little bit about my backstory, kind of my journey in real estate and how I got to where I am today. I've been in the industry for nearly 19 years. I originally began as a real estate assistant. No, that's a lie. That's a lie. I was not first a real estate assistant. I actually got my license to be a timeshare sales representative in Florida. I went home for a summer when I was 25 to handle some things. And my dad was like, Melissa, you don't understand. Like, these people are making tons of money. You need to check this out. You should look into being a timeshare sales rep. I was like, Dad, I'm not going to sell timeshares. Are you crazy? And he said, no, like, you need to see what this is about because their houses are massive and these people are making a ton of money. So fast forward, got my real estate license, had never intended on that before and ended up actually being pretty good at it, but it was not the life and career for me. I ended up moving back to Atlanta just a few months later, but I knew that I wanted to do something with my real estate license. I obviously knew all the opportunity and the freedom and money and everything that it promised, so I was not going to give up on my real estate path. So I ended up getting a job as a real estate assistant for one of the biggest RE/MAX teams out there. I'm sure everybody knows Mark Spain. It wasn't Mark Spain, but Mark Spain and my team leader kind of came up it was a Craig Proctor program. If we don't sell your house, we buy. He did the same thing. Okay. So he was just as successful at that time, probably even more so than Mark Spain. Anyways, long story short, he was big time. Airing during the Today shows, had more listings and more clients that they could keep up with. So they hired me and I ended up being the official team negotiator for all incoming contracts. So while the average agent closed 7 homes a year, I was negotiating 30 contracts a month and almost 300 a year. So as you can imagine, I definitely got the Harvard education of real estate right off the bat. So that was an invaluable experience for me. I learned how to master negotiate like no other. I had the best special tips you could imagine. They would go get the listings and then I would pick up and I would take over with the client as soon as a contract or an offer was put into place. And then I would take them all the way to the closing table. So I had an amazing experience there. I can't imagine learning any quicker than that. So that was fantastic. What I didn't learn for many years is how to get my own leads. Okay. So while I could have stayed there, I ended up coming to another team that was closer in town. I live in a great neighborhood that I'm obsessed with. And there was another agent who had a huge team and he was like the number 1 team out here at that time. And I always knew I was going to work under him. I knew. He was where I wanted to be. He was the best of the best. I landed that job and I became an agent under him. Now, I ended up staying there for about 7 years, which is about 6 too many. Okay. I think I should have stayed a year, maybe two, but it was too long. And really, I was delaying my own potential. I think that, now don't get me wrong, I don't think it's a bad thing to be on a team. In fact, I'll stop here and say, whenever I have people come up to me and say, what's the best way to be successful in your first real estate? Every single time I say, you definitely need to get under a team. So I believe in being on a team. I think that you have built-in mentors and you learn the foundation in which to be successful, typically. But at a certain point, it can be limiting and stifling for your growth. So I always say get on a team because you will learn scripts. You might have horrible, but we'll say valuable role play practice. But most importantly, they're usually feeding you leads. When you're first starting out, it's really hard to get leads on your own. I'm also going to be teaching you this. I'm also going to teach you how to do it in a way that is fun and fits your personality. But on this team, there was a lot that was very stifling to my growth. Now, this is just my story. This isn't the story for everybody, but this is what I encountered. And one of the biggest reasons that I felt the inner voice tell me it was time to go. And thus began my success story. What was happening on my team, there was a disbelief. So the way our team was set up is you're either a buyer's agent or a listing agent. I was a buyer's agent. Most people were. There was like 3 listing agents. They believed that buyer's agents couldn't possibly list. So if I had a client who bought, and then later, since I was there for 7 years, there were several opportunities where they would come back and they were now ready to list their place. We had built up a rapport. We had a great relationship. They wanted to use me. I was not allowed to list their property, which is ridiculous. And I raised my hand in the meeting and I wanted the team leader to say back to me, I said, so are you telling me that you believe the listing agents can work with buyers, that they can handle our job, but we are not capable of a listing agent's job? Is that what you're saying? And he said, yes, correct. I was also forced to work with a couple of really, really bad clients that were just, I would never choose to put myself in that situation if I were independent. I was told I had to work with certain people no matter what was going on in that situation. And, you know, honestly, I was exhausted and I was so tired. By the time I would get home from work, I would be a shell of a human being. Now, if you're already on a team, you might already be in this situation right now. We would dial for dollars for 5 hours a day, and that was the way to do it. Okay, we had leads and leads and leads, and you had to find, the needle in a haystack. And so I would show up at home, and I would be absolutely dead, absolutely dead. Or I would go and I would meet up with a friend, and we'd go to happy hour. And I remember saying this on more than one occasion. They would always ask, are you okay? What's wrong? What's wrong? And I would just be exhausted. And I would tell them, I need 20 minutes before I can talk. I need 20 minutes. So it was just exhausting. It wasn't fun. It wasn't the way in which I felt like I shined by cold calling people, 200 calls a day. It just was not... It was not conducive for success for me. It wasn't the right fit for me. So I was already getting tired, but what really was the catalyst for big change for me is, one of the greatest heartbreaks of my life is I was going through a divorce. Now, my husband and I decided that we were not going to drag out the divorce and make it very painful for, years and years. We just decided that we would write up what we would agree to, submit it to the court, moved out immediately, and it was very fast, okay? But the saddest part about all of this is I had 2 little girls. I still have 2 little girls. At that time, they were both under the age of 2. So it was especially heartbreaking, obviously, with that going on. And now we're all fantastic. We're great. Everybody gets along. It's wonderful. But it was at that time and moving into the next chapter of my life that I began to realize, okay, We need to work smarter, not harder, and we need to work fast. We need to condense the 60 hours a week that I'm working right now and at least try to cut it in half. And ultimately, I got it down to probably about 20 hours a week. And I'm going to show you how I did this. It was do or die. And this is my situation. So I immediately moved out and I now had 50-50 custody. So I had these two little babies and I only had half my time that I used to have with them. And I will be damned if I was going to have a babysitter come over. I already went down to 50% of my time. That was heartbreaking. So I was not wanting to hire a babysitter. I was not wanting to have somebody come over and help me. I was not wanting to even take them to daycare, which I ultimately had to do. I did not want to give up any more time than I had to. And as you can imagine, not being able to give up your weekends and your nights in real estate was extremely challenging. And at the time, I thought that was going to be impossible. But there's just nothing more motivating than a mother's love for her kids and wanting to be around them. And I became, and still am today, so fiercely protective of my time that this was the only way for me. So I was going to figure this out. And I did. So it was then that I decided I got to go out on my own. What is being required of me no longer fits my life. And not to mention, I didn't feel like the paychecks, I was working so hard, you guys, so many hours. And the paychecks, they weren't adding up, as the kids say, the math wasn't mathing. It wasn't computing. It didn't fit how much work I was putting into things. And it was no longer in alignment for my life and the changes that were occurring at that time. So I went off on my own. And I actually went with a couple other girls and we basically formed a team of our own and we decided we're going to do things our way. I learned so much in that launch and what I could get done. I no longer was bound by these controlling regimens of our team leader. I could do things and try things my own way. So I will tell you, at first, we continued doing the same regimens. We subscribed to the same lead sources, the same super expensive CRM. And we tried it that way. Okay. The problem is with those lead regimens, I was expected to pick up the phone and answer it as soon as a phone call came in. And it was really, really difficult for me to do that. When I have a baby, I have two different babies. I couldn't do it. I'm just saying all this to make you realize that, I had to figure out a new system because of these circumstances. So I learned that I was pumping out $1,100 every month on the CRM and the lead system. So it was like Zillow, Realtor.com, all of that, only to find out that that wasn't working for me anymore. Now, if that works for you, that's fantastic. Go for it. I am all about leaning into your authentic talents and personality. So if you are somebody who can pick up the phone and you are always available and you have no problem with it and you love it and you try to be the first person to answer the call, that is perfect. That might be the best route for you. I sucked at this stuff, okay? I knew I was good at other things. That wasn't where I shined, and I was done paying for all the money for that. So I figured out what are my talents, right? I was very good at winning multiple offers. I was awesome at special stipulations. I was great when we got into the contract game. And I had a really good social game. And I had a huge network of friends. Also, my clients, I had the ability to instill such trust in them because they just know who I am. I am not capable of lying. I never want to lie. I can't lie. I literally stumble all over my words, okay? So I just don't ever do it. So they knew that they could trust me. If I didn't know the answer to something, I would say it. But long story short is I realized I needed to tap into what I was good at. And so from there, I was able to really finesse out a really fantastic strategy. And where it's led me today is I have a 100% referral-based business. I don't ever pay for a lead ever. And I have dream clients. In fact, I feel like it's funny. My ex-boyfriend used to say to me, you say, I came home and I was like, oh my God, I just love this client. You don't understand. I love this client. He said, you say everyone's a dream client. Every single person you work with is a dream client. And I was like, do I? But I realize I have the ability to choose who I work with. Well, and not only that, when you have these great relationships and these great clients, when you build a completely referral-based business, those fantastic people are friends with fantastic people. And those fantastic people refer you to more fantastic people. Usually like-minded people stick together, right? And not only that, by the time most of my business comes to me, there's already the instilled trust. So I don't have to break down those barriers. They already trust me. They already like me. And it makes my job so much easier in so many ways. Not only is it just nice just to have someone's trust, it's invaluable because I have a lot of advice to give to my clients as to what lenders to use, strategies in a home inspection, home inspectors to not use. I mean, I have so many things that I have to advise them on. And if they don't trust me, they're going to do things their own way. And typically they're going to get us into a challenging situation that was going to procure some terminations. So all that to say is there's no amount of money you can put on the value of a referral-based business. So I have 100% dream clients every day, all the time. And I only work, like I said, less than 20 hours a week because I figured out how to hone in and analyze the activities that were netting real results. And now I only do those. So my friend, I am so glad you're here. I cannot wait to go on this journey so I can help you skip the struggle and navigate this crazy real estate journey. I feel like every single, couple of months are throwing something else at us that we have to navigate. But I want to let you know that I've got you. I just can't wait to help new agents or even seasoned agents who are just looking for a better way to possibly get off of a team and have the confidence to launch on their own so they can start making those bigger paychecks. Because let me tell you, as soon as I started working on my own, I went to a firm that took only 15%. So I made 85% until a certain cap, and then I made 100%. And, by April or I think March even, I had capped and I was taking home 100% of the paychecks. And oh my God, does that make a huge difference? Huge difference. And then I also figured out how to get my average commission check averages to soar, and I just can't wait to share these things because I remember, I was 25 years old and I just felt like I was lost. And there's just so much that I wish I knew then that I know now that I'm so excited that I can share with you. So thank you so much for tuning in, and let's go. On the next episode, we are going to discuss the 3 biggest mistakes that new realtors make, how we can avoid them, and start from here. Feel free to drop me a line if there is anything that you are hoping to learn from this podcast. I have a whole slew of topics that I'm going to hit week after week after week. But if there's anything that you are dying to learn a little bit more about, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can also send me an email at melissa@theagenthero.com. But also go ahead and check out the website. There's a couple of great resources on the website. I'm really big in cultivating an abundant mindset every single day. I practice affirmations to start my day. And let me tell you, you will not believe what a difference it makes. If you're not doing that already, I highly suggest. We are also getting ready to kick off a new workshop. And it's going to be a 1-hour workshop in which I give you a whole rundown of all of my best resources, tips, secrets that I've learned to help me have the success that I have today. So take a look at the website. Go check it out. It's www.theagenthero.com. And if you want a copy of those affirmations, they are under the free resources tab. So in closing, I just want to say, with nearly 20 years in the industry, I've learned what it takes to make a life to be obsessed with. And I'm committed to bringing value to your life each and every day so that you don't have to wait 10 years to find the happiness and success like I did. I have so much respect for real estate agents because I know how hard the job can be, how overwhelming it is, and how hard you work for your money. I'll be honest, maybe it's a little resentment at how little respect I feel people have for our industry that fuels me to be your biggest champion and cheerleader. I want all the agents out there to be a massive success, and especially those in their first 2 years of real estate. I can't wait to do everything I can to make certain that you skip the struggle, that you hear the secrets and tips that I've learned over the last 20 years, and consume valuable content each and every week so you can absolutely kill it and laugh your way to the bank as you enjoy this fruitful and stress-free life that you've built for yourself. So if this podcast sounds like something that you've been needing in your life and you're committed to making 2025 your most successful and efficient year yet, and you want to make $100K at least in 20 hours, you're in the right place. Your time is valuable, and I'm so honored that you've made this podcast a part of your day. I hope to see you back next week as we start breaking it down. Until then, bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to the Agent Hero podcast. Together, we're redefining real estate success. I hope you're feeling more informed and inspired after today's episode. Be sure to subscribe to the show and connect with me on social media. I am the Agent Hero across all platforms. See you next time.